The Smart Cookies podcast invites guests to share their smart, their motto for life. We then explore what we can learn from that about how to keep our families screen smart and safe. Join me, Jeanette Ballard, for Smart Cookies with wonderful guests, providing valuable insight into how to parent in the digital age. Today I am so pleased to welcome Hannah Douglas. Hannah is mum to a toddler. Her son is nearly 2. She's an award-winning actress and a startup founder. She has started up Loud Her Voice coaching and public speaking. Hannah, welcome. Tell me about Loud Her Voice, first of all. What's it about?
So Loud Her Voice coaching is public speaking and voice coaching for women. It was started after I became a mum. Obviously, my background is acting, and I met so many women who felt like they weren't being heard and felt like their confidence had really shifted, especially going back to work. So I decided to use my tools as an actor to try and help and to try and kind of shift that confidence and help women feel like they can be heard and they can use their voices as themselves without feeling like they need to sort of sound like somebody else.
Is your intention to try and bring back the confidence they had, or have they actually become sort of somebody new and a bit different to who they were before, and they need to find their feet in that identity?
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think it really depends. I think for a lot of people, you do feel like, I don't really know who I am anymore. I don't really know what my voice is meant to sound like. So I suppose it is finding confidence and authenticity in this new person or this new variation of yourself. And obviously, because it's not just for people who are mothers, it's for any women.
Sure.
And so I suppose it's people who've maybe never felt confident in their voices, people who used to feel confident and now seem to have lost it for whatever reason, for people who've had a massive life shift and then kind of need to find their way back in.
Is the voice acting here as like the window to the soul, the window to the real person?
I would say the breath is everything that happens to us in life affects our breath. And that then affects our voice, and that then affects our confidence. So if we experience trauma, whether it's big stuff or small stuff, we really hold it in the breath. And more importantly, we can really kind of close off the breath, which often means that people feel like it's all very shallow and in their chest, and their shoulders and neck get tight and they feel like they can't breathe properly. And it's really interesting that so many adults are walking around who've kind of forgotten how to breathe. And if you can find a way of dropping that breath, then it's amazing the difference it can make, both to your voice and to your confidence as well.
What does that mean, dropping the breath?
So if you can get your breath to literally to kind of go lower down, so lower into the stomach, imagining your breath going all the way down into your sort of pelvic region. And that can feel really, really vulnerable for a lot of people because that's a really vulnerable place. So a lot of people close that off. Obviously, physically, our breath is only in our lungs, but it's allowing our body the openness to feel like that breath is entering into our stomach and our lower parts, and imagining our entire bodies kind of filling up space, rather than it all being caught up in our chest and our shoulders.
When the breath is caught up in that chest shoulder region, and we've all experienced that thing of our shoulders going up to our ears, what is it doing to the voice, and what difference do people begin to notice as they're able to lower the breath down?
So if your breath is all caught up in your chest, your voice isn't going to be able to project as much. You might hold your voice back. It might all be stuck kind of very much in your throat. And therefore, if you try and shout, you end up pushing and kind of damaging your voice. or you just don't have any power behind it. So the breath is really what powers that voice. So if you don't have the breath and the support system there, your voice isn't going to be able to carry. You also will feel like you run out of breath more quickly if it's more shallow. So you might feel like you have to really rush your sentences. We get worried that people won't want to listen to us too much. So we think, oh, I'll just speak really, really quickly and then that's it. So that's kind of all tied to that support system and the breath and giving yourself more time and space and power.
So how does the sort of dealing with the voice first help spread a sort of, is it spreading like a warmth of confidence?
Yeah, that's a really lovely way to put it. So we look at the voice side and we look at the mindset shifts that can happen, but both do tie back to the breath. So when you're feeling really low in confidence, especially if you're in a pressured, stressful situation, it's most likely that your breath's going to become quite shallow. And, you know, we've often, most of us have experienced that slightly panicky feeling when you feel like everything's in your chest.
Yeah.
So by doing certain exercises, certain breathing exercises, not only are they physically reminding your body that you're safe and also that you are capable of using your voice, they're also shifting your mindset. So they're kind of taking yourself from your being fully in your mind to being a bit more in your body. So then you feel a bit more grounded. So then if somebody comes at you with a question, you've given yourself that space and time to think about what it is you want to say and how you want to say it. But we really do look at that too, that mindset of, well, I don't have anything interesting to say. We do quite a lot of reframing. So trying to change that negative thought into something positive that you can tell yourself beforehand so that you're reminding yourself that, oh, I do have something interesting to say. People do want to listen to me. Even if one person in this meeting, in this presentation, finds what I have to say interesting, then that's okay.
I can't tell you how terrified I was of people coming to me in conversation and I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the confidence to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's okay not to know. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. And I think that's so tied to everything, like whether it's being a parent, whether it's being, for me, being an actor, whether it's speaking in public, work, whatever it is. I think it comes back to that openness and the curiosity. So approaching things with curiosity rather than judgment, you know, that's always a great thing to say to kids as well, is kind of showing them that you don't know everything, but it's okay to not know something and to want to find out. Curiosity as an actor is everything. And I think if we are around more people and around people being open and honest and also listening, I think such a big part of being a good public speaker is being able to listen to others. That can really inform your own opinions and what you have to say as well. And then I think, especially in this age of social media, what do you reveal about yourself and what do you hold back? And I suppose the answer is really it's completely up to you because, yeah, you don't have to tell everybody everything. I'm a massive oversharer. It just comes out. And I think in some ways that's a lovely thing because we want to connect to people. But I suppose, yeah, it's finding the relevant information. And again, I think coming back to that breath and giving yourself time helps you decide. It's all about giving yourself moments where you can just go, okay, what do I want to say here?
I love that. And actually, I mean, I'm totally with you. I am thinking about what you're saying in the social media space, about what we post about ourselves and what we see from other people and what they post. And there's something about the skill of public speaking for the speaker that is about that moment, that breath, that so you make really quite conscious choices about what you say next, how you respond, what you share, what you don't share, and the grounding allows you, even in the heat of the moment, to think that through just that little bit more. As you say, take that breath, pause. You don't have to go in straight away. Take a quick scan. What choices are you making? So those are skills that, goodness me, we could probably all use when we're doing our social media. But equally, on the listener side, in real life, listening to a public speaker, at some level, that this person is making choices. They're obviously not going to share their whole lives with you or every intimate detail. So you kind of, you understand that there's almost like a listening literacy going on. But it's almost like we forget all of those skills when we're looking at social media, and it just slowly penetrates our inner worries and says, oh, look at this person there, mum to 6 kids, but look how well presented they are video, and we just forget all of that literacy. So for me, there's definitely something in that crossover there that you've been talking about. I also want to take it to your acting. With acting, how are you stepping into another character? Because you definitely are leaving bits of you behind then, right? And stepping into another character and being somebody else. How do you become an authentic, different person? What's
Such a great. There is a difference. So for me, one of the most wonderful things about acting is that you can see the world from somebody else's eyes. You get to experience life as somebody else for a little while. And I've always loved that.
Yeah.
So I suppose, as I said before, it really starts with a curiosity for me, because I'm so interested in people. I'm so interested in where people come from and what might be going on in their minds. So I suppose it all kind of really starts there, that you get this character and you want to, I think, first of all, understand where they come from, what's led them where they are. And then I suppose you find the connections to yourself. So you find the bits that are similar to you, the bits that are different to you, and then throw yourself in. I think that it's one of the most exciting things, is to kind of really throw yourself into a character. Part of the reason I started the voice coaching is that from all my years being an actor, I actually never liked speaking as myself. I never liked being me.
Wow.
Public speaking as myself felt very, very different to being a character.
Okay.
So I had to do a lot of digging around that and finding out where that came from, and to overcome it. Whereas I think being a character, you're using somebody else's words. I think it's the curiosity of the other person. So it does feel very different, I think, to speaking as yourself.
So let me take you to Lapwing then, because the character you play, Patience, she is elected mute. And it was not lost on me from the get-go that you played this this woman who was elected mute, but you're really interested in the female voice, and I'm wondering how that played out for you.
Yeah, I know. It's quite ironic that the film that I won an award for and got nominated for, I don't actually really speak very much, and then I set up a voice coaching company. But I think basically the film's set in the 1500s, and this young woman was born with a stammer, so she decides to be mostly mute, apart from singing and certain moments where she tries to use her voice and speak. The writer, Laura Turner, is incredible, and she is such an advocate for women's voices. And I think both of us were very interested in, especially back then, obviously women's voices were not at all listened to. But particularly this young woman who was born with a stammer, that was something that was seen as very, she kind of wasn't even really seen as a person. It was very much seen as kind of slightly devilish, witchy.
I mean, witchy, yeah.
Yeah, and there's quite a bit of that in the film. She couldn't, if you can't, I think it's if you couldn't speak the Lord's Prayer, then obviously there was a lot of suspicion on you.
Right.
But the film explores, she's still quite a powerful person.
She is, isn't she? You
and
can
she
see,
has this
pick that up
power.
from the trailer. Mm.
Yeah, so it's kind of how does she does that without using her voice so much? And I think sometimes it's the silence that almost makes her more powerful. So deciding not to speak and not to try to speak almost gives her more power. But yeah, it's 100% added to my fascination of the voice, particularly female voices, and kind of what happens to us in life, and also the history, the fact that, you know, I mean, sadly, even now, women's voices aren't kind of heard as much around the world.
Mm.
Um, but certainly historically, it wasn't that long ago, even in this country, where, things were very, very different for us. And I think that that all does kind of have an impact. Um, so yeah, I find it all very, very interesting. And Lapwing definitely added to that. Um, and it was an amazing journey to go on. Especially kind of not being able to use your words and your voice in the same way. And I decided initially I was going to not speak for the entire filming period. um, but
Wow.
I think I did 3 days of not speaking. um, and then I did speak behind the scenes, but probably less than I normally would. But yeah, even 3 days of kind of not being able to use your voice in the same way, it was very interesting how people treat you differently.
Yeah. So what happened? What does that look like?
I think I sort of the frustration I felt of kind of wanting to get my point across or wanting to tell somebody something. Obviously, this was all behind the scenes, so talking to my fellow actors or the crew. I think for some of the crew initially, they felt it was almost like they were a bit worried to approach me because they were like, "Oh, but she's not talking, so I don't know what to say to her." And and then I think in certain situations, actually, people just stopped talking to me because I wasn't talking.
That is interesting, and again, there's parallels there, isn't there? So when you weren't speaking, it was frustrating for you, but somehow it also frustrated those around you,
Yeah.
and it was easier for them not to try to engage you
Yeah.
because somehow it
Yeah.
was going to frustrate them. So
Yes.
that they
Yeah.
just begin to sort of ignore you, and then you
Yeah.
become you literally, but you become not just voiceless but presenceless
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. It
You're
was
not
very
there.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay. So, a question I'd like to ask you, which I try to ask all my guests, is what is your smart? Meaning, what is the one thing that kind of keeps you going through all of this or has kept you going through all of this? It might have been a piece of advice or a common thread that you can see or the thing that gets you up in the morning. What is your smart, Hannah?
Um, I suppose two things come to mind really, and they're two things I've sort of already mentioned.
Mm.
One is that just everything in life comes back to the breath. So whether I'm having a moment with my toddler and he's having a meltdown, uh, and it's really challenging, of which there are more and more of those times, reminding myself actually to take a breath, then speak, then decide how to act upon something, really helps. Whether that's obviously in acting, or obviously in my new venture, everything comes back to that breath and the confidence. And I suppose the other thing is approaching everything with curiosity rather than judgment. And again, I just think that that can be applied to everything, whether that is acting, public speaking, life in general, toddlers, motherhood, or for you, thinking about screens and
Yeah.
how they impact our lives, and the fear that we have for our kids with screens is trying to look at things curiously rather than immediately judgmental. I think that's the biggest one.
Yeah, totally. Hannah, thank you so much for joining me. It's been absolutely fascinating talking to you, and I look forward to seeing and hearing more from Loud Her Voice and to see you on screen again.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been a joy.